Ooh. Oh.
Are we
Hello.
live?
It's still going. There we go. We are live. We're in. Hello. Hello, everyone. Yes. I can totally hear myself, which
Good.
means
Yes.
I'm running video in the background. And there we go. Welcome to Lightbox, the official podcast of the West Australian Animation Association, Wanimate. Whether you're an aspiring animator, a seasoned professional, or simply a fan of the magical world of animation, you've come to the right place. My name is Tanya Beeson.
I'm David O'Connell.
And I'm Lindsay Flay.
And we'll be your guide on this monthly journey into the heart of the animation industry in Western Australia. Each month, Lightbox will bring you the latest and greatest in animation news, from upcoming films and shows to industry discussions that inspire and empower the talented animators that call Western Australia home. We'll also delve into the creative processes, challenges faced by our local animators as they work tirelessly to bring their unique visions to life. So buckle up and get ready to be amazed as we all explore the vibrant, ever-evolving world of West Australian animation. This is Lightbox, and we're just getting started. Before we go any further, we wish to acknowledge and honour the traditional custodians of the land which we are streaming from, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation. We recognise and celebrate their enduring culture, the rich tapestry of Indigenous arts, and the invaluable contributions they make to the vibrancy and cultural diversity of the region.
And finally, before we dive into today's content, we'd like to issue a quick advisory warning. Look, while our channel is generally suitable for most audiences, there may be an occasion where we delve into topics or showcase content that might not be appropriate for younger viewers. We do strive to create engaging and enjoyable content for everyone, but please be advised that some material may not be suitable for children. So, parental discretion is advised, and we encourage you to review the content before sharing it with younger audiences. Our goal is to provide a safe and enjoyable view experience for all, and we appreciate your understanding and support in this matter. All right. Let's get into it.
Here we are. We're up and we're happening. Hi guys, how you going? Yeah, let's get on to the news, I suppose. News. We've got two big bits of news. Of course, the local industry. The 330 animation competition is in full swing. The keyword is fly. Registrations are closing in the next few days. Is that right?
Yes, judging by the flurry of late entries, yeah.
Is that tomorrow it's closing?
Oh,
Tomorrow.
it's pretty close.
Pressure's on everyone who's entering the competition. Dive in.
Or is it even sooner?
So yes, if you want to be involved, put in your registration. It's a requirement before you submit your films later on. You've still got some time to work on your 30-second animation, but yes, time is ticking for actual registration, which you have to do early. So, cool.
Sounds good.
Other big news is that Star Trek Lower Decks has been cancelled with season 5.
Yep. So we're getting to see the last of the season 5, but
Nice.
that'll be the last so far that we know. There are attempts to save it, so we'll see how those pan out.
Yes.
Downside is, from all I've heard, is they were sort of informed very late on in the process. So whether it's ending with a cliffhanger or that's never going to be resolved, or it looks like they haven't got a chance to wrap up properly the series, which is annoying.
So what's brought this on, do you think?
I'd say financial. I don't see how Lower Decks is, because it's got to be one of the cheapest things to do in comparison to the live action. Their budget is a lot less. But yeah, whether it didn't do well enough after the crossover episode, whether the numbers of streaming aren't there, I don't know. I think it started picking up after Strange New World crossover. There's a lot more new fans that seem to be active online, but I don't know the back end because it's streaming, and no one knows the back end of streaming most of the
There's
I always
definitely
thought,
a feeling of that it is the best of the treks, the modern treks. But
It's either the best or the
Yeah.
worst, depending on who you ask.
well, yeah,
Well,
I know.
wasn't-
I know some people who just refuse to engage with animation, which is not what we're about.
what? Well, I doubt they're in our comments channel, so we can
Yeah, well,
safely continue.
we can totally slur them
But
right here.
wasn't that the whole point of Star Trek? Its fan base really just grew after it ended.
Oh,
Yeah.
Isn't that how it all worked? And it was the reruns that built it up. So isn't that how most series go?
I think it got saved from cancellation twice during its 3-year run. So
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. They're depending on who's telling the story.
Things you don't find out until the next century. Yeah.
Lucille Ball saved it at least once. So
Yeah.
What an icon.
Respect to Disney Lee Productions, yeah.
Yeah, so very, very cool. Okay, so next snippet, back to the 3:30. Our judges are starting to be announced. So first two of the judges are Amy Thomas, who's worked all over the place as a VFX artist in London and working on big films. So all the way from Avengers to Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which, new Planet of the Apes is coming.
Better be a weird one. That's all I can say.
Weird one?
Yeah.
Or it better be a weird one, did you say?
It's like, yeah. It needs to have mutants and some kind of weird atom bomb in it or something.
I don't think they're going down that path anymore. They've kept it very grounded since
Damn
Dawn.
it. Now we're going to have to go online and rage furiously into the darkness of the ether.
The original series is strange. I love it, but yeah, I am definitely a fan of the modern.
Well, the spaceship is out there in the modern one, so they've got to do that first before it gets to mutants and an atomic bomb at the cobalt bomb at the bottom of the world.
Cobalt bomb, that's the one.
Yeah,
cobalt bomb.
And Laura D'Amato from Princess Bento. So Princess Bento is an Australian studio, so it's really good to see support. And she's worked on things like Has Been Hotel and Koala Man, which, I loved Koala Man last season. I'm hoping they're doing a little bit more of Koala Man. But yeah, it's coming. Okay, right. On to things that are coming out, things that are out now. We can probably start talking through the list because we've got Beyond Journeys and what's that? Free Room?
So I'll go.
I don't know half of these.
I'll go through the first bit of it, and then I'll let you do the coming up. So so far we've had a pretty good batch of anime and animation finish while we've been off the air for like a month. We've had Free Room Beyond Journey's End, which is absolutely fantastic. It's a fantasy anime. It's an old school fantasy anime, but it's doing a lot that's very different. It's looking at an elf's life and their perception of time as a start, and it starts at the very end of the journey. The demon lord's defeated and the group's back celebrating, and then it moves on from there. And it is amazing what it's done. I highly recommend it. So that's the first season of that has finished recently. We've had Apothecary Diary, which is a servant girl raised by an apothecary that's kidnapped and brought into the royal court in China. And it's really high class anime, exceptionally good storytelling, interesting sort of almost CSI Forbidden Palace sort of.
Okay, that sounds like something I could engage with.
Yeah, and Beibei is an incredibly interesting, one of the best created characters. Both these animes have strong female characters and interesting female characters, so that's great. We've seen the conclusion of The Bad Batch last week with the final episode of season 3 running, and rumors of a character that's going to continue through into. I suspect we may see at least one character from the Bad Batch appear at some time in the future.
Yeah. Very interesting.
And dropped for Star Wars Day, May the 4th. We've had Star Wars Day and Revenge of the Sith, the Revenge of the 5th. We've had Tales of the Empire drop, which is, again, a bit of a prelude for a character from The Mandalorian and Ahsoka, and a bit of a postscript for a character from the Clone Wars.
Nice.
So, yeah, it's quite interesting. At the moment, ongoing, we've got quite a lot. There's a whole stream of new animations that's come out, which I want to be speaking to. I'm going to give them a couple more episodes before I sort of talk about those. But we've had X-Men 97, which is just, oh boy. It's a return to form, but it's running through the 20 plus, almost 30 years of X-Men plot points that have been developed since 96. And it's anyone that's accusing the X-Men of being woke, yeah, it is. It always has been. And they are shouting Magneto was right with a megaphone at the moment. It's really going hard at things in what it's discussing. And there's some genuine shocks in there. If you're a fan of the original series, I highly recommend it. If you're a fan of the X-Men, I recommend it. It's very strong. It's as good as we could have hoped for with taking up an old property like that. I haven't had a chance to see it yet, but My Hero Academia has also returned. So we're getting the American superheroes coming into Japan to help out. So let's see how that goes. All right. So and that's it for the those that have been and those that are ongoing. Tanya, tell us what's coming soon.
Okay, so we've got me and Winnie the Pooh coming tomorrow, literally dropping tomorrow on Disney Plus. Look, I've seen some beginning bits of it, and it's really, really awkward hearing Pooh's voice without Jim Cummings. Also, Eeyore seems to be a really positive character. I'm concerned. There is, of course, a Kanga with no Roo. So if they're doing Eeyore, because they seem to be a younger aimed characters, if they're doing a Kanga as a younger character, obviously there won't be a Roo.
Disadvantage of doing a Muppet Baby version, right?
Yeah. But the real thing is Eeyore, because if they're having this Eeyore character that is an exceptionally positive character, that really just implies that there's this completely horrible incident that makes him go all depressed. And
oh dear.
I'm a little bit worried about how they handle that. Rascals Do Not Dream, which I don't know about.
Anime, it looks like a romantic anime, and there's a double at event and maybe some other cinemas as well. So,
on 9th of May, so that's this week. The Blood of Zeus Season 2. I still haven't finished watching the first season yet.
I liked it. I can't really recall much about it, but I did like it.
I know a lot of people did. I found it a little bit hard to engage with. But I didn't dislike it. Transformers.
No.
40th anniversary. When we heard this was coming, we thought they were going to re-release the film in the cinemas for people to watch. This is not the film. It is the first 4 episodes of the TV series from 1984.
So no Orson Welles.
No more Orson Welles, but we do have Scatman Crothers.
What's the point?
Yeah. It's going to be split screen with a live table read from Peter.
I think that's the first episode.
Peter Cullen and Frank Welker. Yeah, both doing voices of Optimus Prime and Megatron respectively. So very, very cool. Big City Greens is coming. That's season 4. So I actually haven't watched any.
No, nor I.
City Greens. Should check it
out. It existed
out.
until 10 seconds ago. So.
Well, it may be a localized animation, so
right.
yeah, just we get things occasionally trickle through.
Is it the Gravity Falls crowd?
Yeah, it looks like the Gravity Falls crew, which is why it's kind of going, oh, yeah. Okay. Dino Ranch, which I have somewhere. Hold on. I got a little. There we go. Oh. Dino Ranch, which is cute cowboys riding around on dinosaurs, which is totally a young Tanya, awesome, amazing thing that I wish I was like 6 years old, because that was fantastic. That would be fantastic. Dino riding cowboys and cowgirls. So.
With a touch of Paw Patrol just to make it go down further.
Yeah. Oh, it's a kids' TV show. So yeah. What else have we got? Thelma the Unicorn, the movie, is coming out in a week's time. So excited. Mickey Mouse Funhouse is coming, and also the Chippendale Park Life Season 2. Park Life is really, really nice style. Sort of doing that modern take on classic Disney characters, like the Mickey Show did a couple of years ago. So yeah, very, very cool. What do we got else? We've got
Garudin, The Way of the Lone Wolf, coming on 23rd of May on Netflix. That's looks like a tournament anime. So death match from crime syndicates. So a lot of fighting, a lot of shouting, I'd say, from the looks of that.
Cool. Okay, well that seems interestingly enough. Jurassic World Chaos Theory is coming. So Jurassic Park Camp Cretaceous was a big series. 4 seasons, went really well. They did an amazing job and actually built it up from what was kind of a kiddie series to something that was actually quite dealing with the darker aspects of InGen and Jurassic Park itself. This follows on from it, aimed at slightly older audiences. So essentially the original audiences that have grown up a little bit. The rumors are that they killed off a major character in the first episode. So yeah, and wow. It's probably not going to be Darius, as you can see him being chased by a raptor in that picture. But yeah,
or maybe that's the last we see of Darius being chased by a raptor.
Maybe it is the last. But yeah, he was the main character of Camp Cretaceous, so I doubt they're going to kill him off. So, but let's see, Mickey Mouse Funhouse, done that. My Only Girl, that's another anime one.
Yeah, I don't have any information on this one, unfortunately. Sorry, my bad. I'd say by the title, though, that's going to be a romance anime in similar tradition of life.
You know what? We actually have an anime fan on the committee now, so we might as well.
Yeah, I'm filling in, and I've got some knowledge, but I'm by no means.
We really need to get those people looking at the anime stuff. So.
Because I'm doing Crunchyroll. I'm watching a lot of anime. I've got Crunchyroll recently, and I'm enjoying watching the new stuff, catching up with stuff that I've missed along the way, and catching up with some very classic anime from last century. God damn! But I'm not full up on it by any means. So please, if someone is knowledgeable in that regard, we need your help.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. My Adventures with Superman, which is a really nicely styled series that I have not seen any of.
I have seen season 1. It's exceptional.
It's really strange because considering I love the Superman stuff so much. So
it's on binge, so I think that might be the reason for it. Yeah, it might be blocked by a streaming service as such, or just not available because you haven't chosen that particular poison.
The Garfield movie coming on the 30th of May. Look, I like the look of the new movie, the style of it. I definitely didn't like the realistic one that they did.
The 90s version or noughties
but
version.
The story-wise, they seem to be going with a origin of Garfield story, and I'm like,
I don't know how long they're going to stay with that. Honestly, that might be just prelude.
Maybe.
Yeah, because that's the first bit, but obviously we see a more adult Garfield there. So
yeah. So I know the big cat in the background is Garfield's dad. So
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Haiku, the dumpster battle, which look,
sports anime.
Yeah, sports anime. Okay.
And one of the big ones, yeah. Apparently,
is that the volleyball one?
Yeah, I think it's volley. It looks like it's volleyball this time around. Okay. So yeah, it's not. As I said, there's a large church. There's a broad church of anime, and sports anime is not something that I've gone through, but
that is true.
It's been there since the beginning. So yeah.
I've browsed through some giant, foot-thick tomes of manga, and sports stories featured prominently, along with mahjong stories as well. I haven't seen too many mahjong anime though. But
and we've got Inside Out 2 on the 13th of June next month.
Good grief.
Yeah, so that's going to be great.
Is that an Aardman character I see in there?
An Aardman character? Where?
An orange Aardman character.
Oh, it's definitely got a different sort of feel.
Yeah.
So I think that character is Anxiety.
Oh, yeah. He looks a bit too active to be anxious. But
yeah.
It looks like a range of emotions coming out of teenage years as well.
Oh yeah.
So fun.
What's that bug-eyed thing in the left-hand corner? Crikey.
The left-hand corner. That's the she's Envy.
Envy. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, the only other one I should mention is we've got the new season of Demon Slayer coming out around the middle of this month. I think it's 14th, or 12th or 14th, somewhere around that sort of period. It's screening in Japan, and I'm assuming Crunchyroll will have it simulcast. So,
crikey.
Yeah.
I'm still working through Blue Eye Samurai myself.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what's coming out. There's some cool stuff. I'm
it's got a mixed bag for everyone.
See where it goes. Definitely will be watching Chaos Theory. But that might have to wait till my niece is around because she's an even bigger dino nut than I am. So we'll get there and see how that goes. Let's see. I'm going to jump to what we're talking about this week, and our topic is going to sort of start with the beginnings of the UK animation scene, and delve deeper into the realms of one of those studios, Cosgrove Hall. So,
which a lot of us that grew up in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and possibly into the 2000s will have had something to do with Cosgrove Hall in some way, shape, or form. It's been around in various iterations for those decades, and it's had hits in pretty much all of them. So it'll be something that we've seen sometime perusing ABC.
And we can definitely talk about, about being of that age group. We can definitely talk about those animations because,
they have a big influence on a lot of stuff.
But definitely way more influence than a lot of American animation had for me.
Yeah,
I'd say so. And it wouldn't just be from the 70s either; it'd be from earlier times as well.
Yeah,
and it wouldn't just be animation; it'd be kind of sideline stuff as much as that is anyway.
We've sort of branched a little bit into that realm and talked a little bit about the British side of things. Mostly people talk about they're not afraid of going traumatic when it comes to animation. They don't sugarcoat stuff.
No.
So,
and I think also the sense of humor is something that's going to have to be talked about as well. There's some quite adult jokes.
Dry.
To a lot of Cosgrove Hall stuff.
Do you want to talk about the the three branches of animation, British animation, before we go into Cosgrove?
Go for it, Lindsay.
I think so. Well, I had a quick look at this subject, and the all-knowing, all-seeing Wikipedia kind of clarified a few things. But I've kind of lived a whole chunk of this stuff, really.
Yeah.
And when I was working in production, a lot of that sort of second era of animation is pretty much what influenced a lot of what we did. So Brit animation has a long and hallowed history. It started off, I believe, the first one is 1905, and they had a whole pile of stop motion little films being made and stuff like that. As far as our audience would be considered interested, I would say you could say that it really started to get going in the 30s, and it started to get going from a place called the General Post Office. And that was in part because people were basically public service announcements, but with animation. And in the 1940s, with the war and stuff, they would have segued into propaganda films. So the British experience was not one where they were doing lots of commercial stuff. Whereas in the States, it was all about markets and commercial and pandering to the biggest number of bums on seats. So the British stuff tended to be a lot more experimental, and they'd try new things all the time and do stuff like that. So the first age that Wikipedia described, and I sort of took this with a grain of salt, to be honest, is that it pretty much goes from 1905 to 1979, which I thought was a bit incongruous because it sort of takes up most of the 20th century. I would have thought the post-war period would have been a distinct era in itself. But the way they described the first age was really about this was an industry consolidating itself. So this is it building up into its current form.
Yeah.
So our experience of it would have been at the tail end of it, basically. So we would have been, I was just old enough to remember the Thunderbirds existed. I never actually saw it on television. I mostly saw it on reruns and Super 8.
Yeah.
But there's always been this long tradition of stop motion or puppetry on British TV. So in the 30s, it was the GPO doing stuff like official government announcements and stuff like that, commissioned work effectively. And then it all started to open up in the 70s, probably with ITV, I expect.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Thames Television, I think.
Yeah, ITV's a weird one because it's a whole bunch of TV stations conglomerated together.
So in the 70s, there was a kind of explosion of really weird and obscure and very idiosyncratic sort of stop motion.
The British
puppetry
weren't afraid to go into niche markets for their audience.
They weren't. It's a bit like the ABC market here in Australia, where it's public broadcasting, so there's a sort of legislative requirement for it to represent the local culture and to represent and have a certain amount allocated to local production and stuff like that. So there's some real strange things I've hardly ever seen or heard of, but I've seen references to in memes and stuff that make no sense to me at all, involving all kinds of characters. But I remember things like the Wombles, which was stop motion.
Yeah.
The Magic Roundabout, which was stop motion. And these are all things.
Magic Roundabout was French.
It was.
Yes,
was there a joint thing? Oh, I know they made a movie around 2000.
When the British imported the Magic Roundabout, they weren't given any of the scripts, so basically they had to watch them and make up the story as they went. So
they became British productions.
The English version is completely different than the French version, but it's
Samurai Pizza Cats, the prequel. If you know the story of Samurai Pizza Cats.
Yes.
It's one of those classic examples where the dodgy distributor gave an animated show to a bunch of people and said, here, narrate this, and then didn't give them any scripts. So they had to make it up. And what happened is that they just made up this nonsense. And the spontaneity and lunacy of it was so good, they actually re-exported it back to Japan where it had a second run. That's this kind of weird, strangely English translated anime. So it ended up having 2 runs as a result of that. But anyway, so things like the Wombles, the Magic Roundabout, which is French. There was a couple of other little things going on in Europe as well, quite a few actually. And it was all looks kind of all very rustic and target stuff. But a lot of the Brit stuff would have stuff aimed at kids, but they'd always have a little knowing wink and a nod to the grown-ups in the room. So a lot of that stuff's going down. So there was also a lot of puppet shows for the kiddies, things like Andy Pandy and all that sort of stuff. And there's a sort of parallel of that happening in Australia as well, with Adventure Island and what's his name? Mr. Squiggle and stuff like that.
Yeah. Who's now in the National Film Archive.
Well, he should be too. And
that was quite recent. So, yeah.
Okay, so we would have experienced the 70s end of it, really, and with probably a hint of the 60s. There's a couple of notable films in there. Probably the first one you could probably think of that we would probably recognize would be Animal Farm in 1958. Now, this is a bit of a weird thing, and essentially it's a byproduct of the Cold War, if you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
And essentially the story is that the CIA funded it. And they went to two venerable animators at the time. I can't remember their names off the top of my head. And they basically made a very dark and satirical and, well, I guess you'd call it a political film, really, based on George Orwell's Animal Farm, where they basically did a Disney film of this dark tale on Stalinist Russia. So it's sort of like setting the stage for things like Watership Down and When the Wind Blows from the 70s and 80s. So some of you remember that. That's kind of the origins of that. But angry cinema is something that the Brits have done as well. If you've ever seen a documentary called The War Game, which is about the Brits in late 1960s suddenly realizing that all that safety procedure for nuclear war is just complete bullshit, and the fury coming out of that documentary. It's like a stage docudrama where they stage an actual pretend on no budget nuclear Armageddon with Britain and the whole place just falling to pieces. It makes all those family friendly 80s TV movies about the end of the world like stuff seem quite Betty and Veronica by comparison. It's really angry, and there's sometimes a strong thread of that sort of thing running through a lot of British animation, especially when you see things like When the Wind Blows. It makes absolutely no pretension to be anything other than a tragedy. And you look at things like Watership Down, which is ostensibly talking animals but playing it straight as animals. It's quite dark and grim because that's the sort of daily life of a rabbit. And then you get other things like The Plague Dogs, which is like the follow-up to that, which gets into vivisection. So, delightfully family-friendly subjects there. So and that's definitely aimed at an adult and a niche audience. That's sort of some of the serious, regular, conventional animation. But there's a film in there that I'd say would be very influential, and certainly I would have felt its effects, and that's 1968's Beatle movie, The Yellow Submarine. Now, Yellow Submarine is interesting because it's one of those films that's not Disney at all. In fact, it's almost the exact opposite. It's where art direction, design, and stylization wins out. And you can almost see in it, it's like it does for things like, everything from
Disney
design.
did a lot of that stuff in the 50s. So you took with some boom kind of animation. So mostly was it Milk Carl? Yeah, so his stuff
got quite what's the word I'm looking for? Modernist, I guess. Or, that's a high point there. And there's a couple of really good little films that like Chuck Jones did as well, which is really kind of cool. But Yellow Submarine took this to a whole new level, and it was like 1968 was like swinging London at its height, and the whole hippie thing hitting its high point, and it essentially put art direction and style over animation realism, if you like. The idea that animation had to look realistically animated or animated. It was all about the performance. So things like Terry Gilliam's Monty Python animations or stuff like that. were kind of deeply influenced by that. And the other thing that would have deeply influenced was video clips, where you're not talking about a film tradition or even an animation tradition. You're talking about an art tradition that's suddenly been put to film or put to video and music and stuff like that. So Yellow Submarine is deeply influential. If you look at all the British stuff coming out, there's a very, very strong design sense to it. If you look at the, say, American stuff by comparison, it looks flat and family safe and boring, or conventional, I should say, would be the best way to put it. So, you know, at the time, so Yellow Submarine, I think I always felt
taking risks in their music videos, which you know,
and experimenting,
the Beatles truly were the OK Go of their time.
Yeah, certainly were. So they're doing things like that. That would have led on to the video clip boom of the late 70s, early 80s, you know, and that would have helped things like Aardman's Sledgehammer video and a few other things.
Definitely would have been an inspiration for
that. You would have seen echoes of that here in Australia, with lots and lots of rotoscoping from those early 80s videos and stuff like that. It was a really brilliantly creative time. And you can see it follow through into the noughties with characters like Chris Cunningham and Michael Gondry doing the Bjork videos and Aphex Twin stuff and all that really out there sort of stuff. And some of it's really quite dark and edgy too, which, you know, if you did it now, you'd freak out half the audience. So that,
honestly, I think Come to Daddy freaked out most of the audience at the time it was shown as well.
It's extraordinary. It still has kick. So they describe the second age as 1979 to 96. So really, that's what we're talking about. I would say that's the age of Cosgrove, and that's the age of Aardman. You could also say it's the age of Raymond Briggs, the brothers Key, if you're familiar with them. They're stop-motion animators, and Nick Park. And it's definitely the age of the music video.
Before we dive into the Cosgrove, so the age after the 96 era. So what are we encountering from British animation? Like Aardman's around still?
Well, Aardman's around, but it's very much the establishment now, really. And there's a couple of one-off stop-motion things doing the rounds. But it just feels like the period after all this bright stuff. I don't know. Maybe I haven't been keeping up with it as much as I should be. But
I'm struggling to think of a British series that is not Thomas the Tank Engine.
Yeah. See, a lot of that stuff's gone all CGI now, so it's kind of gone all bland. And so a lot
like
of the
Rory the race car.
I also wonder how much, like you were talking about, quotas for local content.
Yeah.
If those have been eroded over in Britain to the similar extent that they've been eroded here to a fair degree, or that local content is being filled by reality TV or talk shows or quiz shows or that sort of ilk.
You could say something similar to about rock and roll dying with things like Spotify kind of wiping everything out. And I think there's a similar, it's like not wiping it out, but I mean, there's still plenty going on, but it's not distinctive as it was. Whereas the old animations,
great British Bake Off.
It's like a lot of the old stuff was really strange and looked like someone had been put together in someone's back shed, which I suspect some of it was. It was very idiosyncratic, and a lot of that idiosyncrasy doesn't seem to be around post 96, but I could be wrong, so send me your brickbats at your point.
Yeah, there's a few things we might be talking about that
I might just be showing my age here, so I'll bear that in mind.
So let's dive into the company themselves and the guys who started it, Cosgrove and Hall, because it's not named after a place.
Oh, I thought it was a building they named it after.
No, two guys.
Oh, okay.
So
and their sort of collaborative work through multiple iterations. It's I think it goes through 4 separate iterations. Spanning from...
Yep. Have we lost me? Have we lost Dave?
I think Dave's just de-rezzed on us. Oh, there he comes.
Well, have you got me back now? All right.
Yes, we got
you
back.
Let's go for a break. So initially, Good. Okay, so let's go for Cosgrove Hall. So initially, they met as students at Manchester College of Art and Design, and later became co-workers at Granada TV. This is back in the 60s.
Note, art and design, not film or TV or animation.
Yeah. In 1969, Hall left and founded
Okay.
Maybe you can make it up.
Yeah.
Yep. They produced advertising and public service films initially before branching into TV.
Okay, he's timing out.
The internet.
The
internet is angry.
Damn internet. Okay, so we'll hopefully Dave appears back. But let's continue. So they were working on
Yep.
Oh, there you are. So
yep, there's gone again.
We lost you for a little bit, Dave. We're gonna, if you'd like me to read through it, so it's a continuous.
Yeah,
stream.
I think you're gonna
pay the
have
bill,
to,
Dave. Pay the bill.
No worries. Cool. So Cosgrove Hall, Brian Cosgrove and Mark Hall, in 1969, Hall left Granada TV to found Stop Frame Productions and was working with Cosgrove soon after. And they started working on Noddy and the opening graphics to Rainbow, if you know Rainbow.
Oh, God, really? Wow.
Yeah. So
I never saw it, but I've only seen clips of it.
Yeah.
A mythical TV show for kids.
That production company, Stop Frame Productions, closed in 1975. Cosgrove and Hall were able to find new work in animation due to Rainbow. So Thames Television in ITV.
Thames?
Yeah, Thames. The Thames. Yeah. Yes, I'm not British. I obviously mispronounce Thames. Created a new subsidiary.
Subsidiary.
Yeah, that word. I'm an animator. Shut up. Yeah. Okay. Right.
Okay.
Animation studio called Cosgrove Hall Productions in the following year. Thames hired and commissioned Cosgrove Hall as lead animators to create new animated programs for this studio based on their earlier work with Rainbow.
Right.
Yeah.
So Rainbow is responsible for Cosgrove Hall being in existence then, effectively.
Yeah, essentially. Okay. So
a good relationship they have with ITV and Thames particularly.
Yeah.
So
the other BBC.
So there's definitely things coming out of that. The new series, new company. Cosgrove Hall started with Danger Mouse. Yeah. Possibly. Banana Man was the Goodies. Who is the Goodies production company?
Bilotti.
Yeah,
I think.
I don't know who was their production company.
I'll have to look
it up. That's the only one out of the big four that wasn't Cosgrove Hall, because Danger Mouse, Duckula, Wind in the Willows, that was all Cosgrove Hall. Captain Kremen
of the Star Rangers. Is amazing. So Kenny Everett did every single voice on that show. I loved Captain Kremen, and it was always exceptionally it was under animated, over designed.
Yeah.
Really
show,
done. Yeah, so it's a segment of the Kenny Everett video show, but obviously there was a bit of production work going into Captain Kremen segments. So
So Kenny Everett would have been a byproduct of that kind of mad media design background. He was a radio DJ, wasn't he?
He was.
Nearly all the people involved on that hardly had anything to do with traditional film and TV.
Also the guy that really Queen owed their career to. because he played Bohemian Rhapsody on the radio.
That's
just to annoy people, which is
well, that was like late 70s, early 80s was when that show appeared, and that's pretty much coinciding with the big explosion of video clips.
The Kenny Everett video show, like I remember that being shown, even though it was definitely a risque, very, very camp risque show, at kids' viewing time. So Captain Crimin was definitely part of my childhood, although it definitely shouldn't have been.
We approved.
So
So, it's almost like in the same style as the Buggles or something. Video killed the radio star. It's all part of the same era. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So
you got. Go on.
Go for it. I was going to say the big ones. The big ones. Okay, the big ones for that stage. Danger Mouse going from. That was huge. The spin-off from Danger Mouse was one of their biggest characters.
Duckula.
Count Duckula.
Duckula. Yep.
Anything with cartoon ducks, I'm there. So.
Yeah.
Exceptional. And we've also got The Wind in the Willows, which stop motion, and that was huge because it's sort of an injection of British quaintness that caught on in America. So
the Cosgrove Wind in the Willows animated. Those models are fairly large. Like I think was it Mole is about 12 inches, like a foot tall.
Wow.
So the models are actually really, really nicely designed, and the production quality, like you've got miniature modelers, train modelers, all those sorts of people working on it. The stop motion models are amazingly well designed. They got good voices to come in. So David Jason, who everyone knew from Only Fools and Horses.
Inspector Morse would be the
Inspector Morse came later. A Touch of Frost.
Wow.
Oh, sorry, Inspector Frost. Sorry, wrong. Touch of Frost. Yeah.
Touch of Frost. And several other voices that have appeared over time. So David Jason became one of those distinctive voices, the voice of Toad in Wind in the Willows. But the sheer level of model detail is, for any of us, and Dave and I are these like model building people. Just the amazing level of detail.
They had 4 stages active at one time shooting Wind in the Willows. So they had their own production house, in-house production company set up and stage set up, and four divided sound stages just to do that. That's impressive. Running simultaneously.
Yeah, it was definitely Cosgrove Hall's equivalent of Lord of the Rings, basically. It's an epic production, although you might find modern audiences may find it a bit twee.
It is absolutely twee.
It's completely twee.
I think that's a selling point, not a negative.
You're right.
Like
it's almost like a time and place. Yeah, it's a distillation of a potted history of a time and a place, and a sort of Edwardian attitude, if you like.
I'd go so far as to say that it's my favorite stop motion animation of all time. It's just gorgeous, and the story that I grew up with, it's the definitive version for me. I read the book many times as a kid, so it's definitely stuck with me. You do hear the voices come and go through a lot of other animations, and through a lot of puppetry stuff. So the Dark Crystal and Labyrinth uses a couple of the voices from the Wind in the Willow series as well. So they definitely doing that. But Noddy was before, wasn't it?
Yeah, Noddy's Cosgrove Falls before that, 1970. I want to say 76.
Really, that late? I thought it was much older.
The Noddy himself, but the original stop motion version that we recognise, absolutely.
Yeah, 75. Sorry, is not his first screening in stop motion that we recognise.
And the other stop motion around the same time that probably a competitive company was doing was the Paddington one. So
that kind of limited animation with voiceover genre that the Brits managed, which is like the Wombles and a couple of other things.
Yeah.
So the original Postman Pat, before he went all CGI, I guess was.
So Postman Pat and all the variants on that. So your Fireman Sam, your Bob, not Bob the Builder. I don't think Bob the Builder.
No, that's someone else. That's the next ad man, actually.
But Fireman Sam and Postman Pat are pretty much.
Well, we're going to be talking about one iteration of Postman Pat later on.
Okay.
Because that's Cosgrove Hall as well. I'm not sure which one it is. I suspect it's the more CG animated one, depending on the era. So it's I know it's before 2011, so it might be. Yeah.
Interesting.
Anyway, sorry, go on.
Duckula, of course, a big theme, as a spin-off for Danger Mouse. So the way I encountered Danger Mouse was as the 5-minute interstitial episodes, and you'd see one of those a week, one of those each day, and each 5 episodes was essentially a half-hour episode each week that you'd watch over 5 days.
So, of course, David Jason as Danger Mouse. So,
yes.
David Jason as Duckula.
These are old animations that are based on the old TV scheduling. So, back in the day, television worked exclusively in half hours and hours. So, things would start at 6 or 6:30 or 7 or whatever. But the thing is, on places like the BBC or the ABC, Australian Broadcasting Corporation, they were getting 24-minute episodes of things from commercial stations from overseas, not full half-hour stuff. So there was always this market for little 5-minute fillers. So a lot of the animation you would have seen as a kid in the 70s and 80s would have only been like 5 minutes long. It would have been a short, sharp little episodic thing. And that's how I saw a lot of stop motion as a kid. And that's what really, most of that 5-minute stuff is what got me into the gig, really. Wrapping it all up in 5 minutes.
Fat Tulip's Garden and Rhubarb and Custard and those sorts of shows. Yeah, absolutely.
Names I haven't heard in years.
I guess the last thing we should mention in this iteration of Cosgrove Hall is that it was one of the first adaptations of a Terry Pratchett work as well. So we got Truckers coming from them as a stop motion, I believe.
Truckers.
Truckers was the one where the gnomes take over the trucking business. Yeah.
Right.
I'm only.
I don't think I ever saw that.
No,
neither did I. I wasn't.
We'll be talking about some more popular ones later in this next version of Cosgrove Hall.
Have to check it out.
The studio was forced to downgrade operations when Thames lost its ITV license. And went defunct in '93. So in November of that year, after restructuring, Cosgrove Hall was formed with Cosgrove Hall Films was formed with 75% held by Anglo TV, also an ITV subsidiary, HBO, while Hall and Cosgrove held 25%. This lasted in this iteration till 2009 and was subsequently affected when the depression that Britain underwent around about the mid-2000s, so it was 2006 or so.
Did they hook up with Rankin Bass at any point?
Not to my knowledge. I don't know if there was an individual.
I might think something else. Yeah.
I don't know if there was I didn't go too much into the film. I went just into the basic TVs because there's a lot of work there. So it's like I'm just going to cover the basics here. So from this period of time, you've got things like Weird Sisters and Soul Music being produced, going to 2D animation or traditional animation rather than stop motion. You've got Postman Pat, you've got Noddy's Tomorrowland Adventures, you've got Bill and Ben being
stop motion versions.
Good grief.
You've got Andy Pandy. You've got the first of the CG animations from the BBC called The Ghost of Albion. I'm not familiar with that one, but the one I am familiar with, Doctor Who Scream of the Shuckler. Shalaka with Richard E. Grant as the Doctor, as kind of one of those there was a series of small flash animations that was during the Lost Years with Richard E. Grant as the Doctor, and that's one of the things they're responsible for. You've also got them being responsible for the animating the missing fourth episode of Doctor Who: The Invasion, because you had sound for that, obviously, because people used to record Doctor Who episodes on their tapes, and that's how you lived, because you didn't have VHS, you just had the audio tapes. So we've got a lot of sound for old Doctor Who that period, not a lot of visuals. So
imagine mono recorded off a flat mono TV set.
Yeah, it's of variable quality, but it exists. The fact that it exists at all is almost miraculous.
That's true.
Cool. So, we recognise the stop motion Postman Pat. Postman Pat came was big for a while there. So
yeah, it was. It was like the Bob the Builder of its day, and that was pretty big around 10, 15 years ago now. Then it all went CGI, and everyone lost interest. Really, like the bananas.
So the CG versions of Fireman Sam and Postman Pat look a little bit creepy. They've lost something from the stop motion versions.
Being an old stop motion animator myself, once upon a time, the thing about stop motion is that there's something alchemaic about it. It's like actual real objects are moving around, and that's the appeal of it. Really, it's I guess a physicality, and if it's not there, it just becomes graphics.
Yeah, and in this sort of iteration, they seem like they're much more child orientated, under that specific auspice. To do more child-friendly content, with the exception of a few things. Yeah,
and it feels very much like by the numbers, the same methodology the What-Wats are used to be created with. It's like where someone sat down and studied all the laws and legislation and requirements and market research and carefully engineered a result. It certainly doesn't feel like a story being told to you by somebody, or less like a story. So, and I think Fireman Sam got told off by actual firefighters in Britain. They said, look, we haven't used the word fireman for years. We're all firefighters now. And so they had a go at Fireman Sam. This is about 5-6 years ago, before the pandemic, I think. I'll have to look it up. They had a grizzle about the fact that he was still Fireman Sam and not Firefighter Sam.
Nice.
So, real British firefighters having a bit of a grizzle. Pretty funny.
Okay.
I like it. That's great.
I'll just go through the last iteration of Cosgrove Hall, which is virtually nothing to report, honestly. Working on a number of children's shows under the name CHF Entertainment with Francis Fitzpatrick from 2011 to 2019. But it didn't really have too much impetus behind it, because Hall passed away in 2011, just after the founding of it, unfortunately. And although his place was taken by his son, it just doesn't seem to have had that same sort of hunger to produce as others. Cosgrove's received a British Academy Award of Film and Television Arts Special Award for Outstanding Creative Contribution to the Industry at the British Academy of Children's Awards 2012, which, well deserved. Well deserved, considering, I mean, it's had an effect on us, and we're in a different continent, for God's sakes.
We're essentially children of Cosgrove Hall.
One of the colonial offshoots.
I'm definitely not kidding when I say this has had more influence than any of the other stuff that came from anywhere else. I was definitely watching American animations, but the ones that really stuck with me from that time period are the Cosgrove animations.
They're more, don't want to say grounded, but they were more homespun. Would that be a good way to describe it?
They
were really daggy. I mean, they were kind of like the epitome of not fashionable.
Funny. They were well written. The Danger Mouse's banter with Penfold, and the same with Duckula and Igor and Nanny. You know, they took the one-note characters that they created for those series and basically, you know, squeeze every ounce of blood out of those stones that they.
You see it. There's a couple of documentaries out there. You see footage of a table read for Duckula, and they're working jokes through the read, and they're getting as much as they can, seeing what innuendo they could get away with, seeing what topical events they can put into at the time. There's a lot going on there, and they're working it as you would a normal comedy room.
Yeah,
nice. I remember the Duckula, and it always kept reminding me of an old radio TV show called The Goons, which got repeated to death, I think, for about 50,000 years on the ABC on radio. And that was the brainchild of Spike Milligan and Peter Sellers, and who was the third guy, the Welsh singer?
Tom Jones.
No. Hell no. Harry Seacombe.
Yeah.
You might remember him as the stern guy in Oliver Twists. When Oliver asks for more food, he's the guy with the tri-cornered hat that says no, and has a big musical number about it with a great operatic voice. So Duckula had a lot of that Cosgrove stuff had a lot of heritage in there, which I, like British cultural heritage, which I think sort of gets a bit, I guess, rubbed out a little bit or erased a little bit when it's all kind of homogenized with CG.
But there's some good and bad there as well. There's a low-key racism there that's kind of
understatement of the year.
Here we go. Finally found it. The Lincolnshire Fire Service have decided to drop Fireman Sam as their mascot over concerns that the character isn't inclusive enough. Oh, hang on. This particular story has been broken by Good Morning Britain. So take that as you will. Lincolnshire's Chief Fire Officer Les Britzman argues his decision to remove the mascot. There you go. So it's a whole article. It's 4 years old during the pandemic when everything went mad. So
I think everything was going mad before then, but yeah.
He just brought it out in the open. Yeah.
But okay. Before we wrap up, Dave, favorite Cosgrove animation? Where are you seeing?
I'm gonna have to go Danger Mouse. I really am. I love that spy-fi element to it and the quick wittiness of it, and that just really appealed to me. As much as I'd love to say Duckula and those Ian Miller sort of ink landscapes that appeared there, it's just the rapid fire of Danger Mouse is definitely it for me.
Definitely. Plus, so there's a lot riffing off those 60s spy dramas as well. So
well, it's a rich vein, isn't it?
Yes. Linz, what
it'd have to be Danger Mouse, I think, in terms of popularity and stuff. I think I can admire Wind in the Willows, but Danger Mouse is much more my era. And again, it's the banter and the wittiness and all that silly nonsense. And Penfold as the male screamer who needs to be rescued all the time.
Yeah,
that's kind of fun.
No, I'm not. DM, I've hurt my elbow. Yeah. Yes.
What about you, Tanya?
It's totally Duckula for me. I know it's a spin-off from Danger Mouse, but just the sheer ridiculousness of a vampire Count Duck who's been raised as a vegetarian because they included tomato sauce instead of blood in the ritual. It's just I literally can say that entire opening sequence in the same way that I can say the He-Man and She-Ra opening sequences. Don't
know if that's something I'd admit to, but anyway.
But I'd probably do the voices as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Anyway, so with that, I think we'll wrap it up, and I'll say, "I'll get it." And
who crumbs?
I'll get you, Gadget. Next time.
Next time.
Inspector Gadget when it was cool. Yeah, there was a time before Matthew Broderick when it was cool.
I'm hearing interesting that it's floating around, but
it's not really Cosgrove, though.
You Inspector Gadget coming.
Oh no, really?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see what happens.
So we'll see how we go.
Yeah. See, Miraculous Ladybug might have invented a completely useless villain who just stands in a corner in the dark with reality bending powers that says, "Damn it, I'll have to try next time." But Inspector Gadget pioneered it. Was it Dr. Evil or what it was? What was his name?
Claw.
He was just
Claw.
Dr. Claw, and he had that caterpillar or something instead of a cat.
It was a cat.
Yeah, it was a cat. That's right, it was a cat.
No,
and,
so you're getting mixed up with Danger Mouse because Danger Mouse is
Baron Toad. Baron Toad had the caterpillar.
Yeah, the Baron had the little caterpillar.
Yeah, but every single Inspector Gadget would be this armored fist. I'll get you, Gadget, next time, and he'd never do anything about it. Just sit in his chair, just.
The poor guy didn't get
into the air.
The poor guy didn't get a face till his toy was released.
No, it was great. Arch villain. Anyway, I have nothing more.
That's it.
All right. What's our next
we're
exciting
out.
topic?
Oh, look. Okay, so next month is Pride Month. So we're talking queer representation in animation next month.
Oh,
and,
okay.
Yes. So International Pride Month, queer representation, and this is going to require a little bit of deep diving and talking about the camper, more offbeat. We may bring back Captain Crewman.
Blue shirt.
Yes.
Could be entertaining.
Yes, looking forward to that. We're going to see if we can get the Perth Queer Film crew on to talk with us as well. So,
cool.
Yeah, I'm talking to them at the moment about that, the potential of that. So yeah, we're gaying it up next month.
I'll bring my sequins.
Nice. Okay, so is Dave frozen again?
I think he is. He's
frozen
remarkably
again.
Disciplined.
Yeah, he's just got like that stern.
Hang on, transporter.
Nose, yeah.
The transporter buffer's clearing up. There we go.
Yeah, nice. Okay, people. So I'm going to say goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
And goodbye from us. See ya.
And we'll
Bye.
log off. Okay, see ya.